Hello, this is Father Aaron Westman with the Glen Mary Home Missioners, and this is your Missioner Moment. My brothers and sisters, in the Gospel this weekend, we hear Jesus telling the parable of the talents. In this parable, the master goes off on a journey, and before he goes off, he gives to three of his different servants some talents or money or what we might call gifts. And two of these servants take those talents and they multiply them, they add to them. And upon the master's return, the master is very pleased and he calls them good and faithful servants. The third servant, however, out of fear of the master, takes the talents, buries them deep into the ground, and upon the master's return, has nothing to show for his time being away. My brothers and sisters, there are a number of conclusions that I think we can draw from this parable. And I'd like to highlight two today. The first is this. Sometimes we look at ourselves as Christians and we look at our lives within the church, within the kingdom of God, and we say to ourselves, I have nothing to contribute. I have nothing to give back to God. But what this parable tells all of us is that, in fact, the opposite is true. Each of us has been given gifts, talents, abilities that can be used for the church, for the kingdom of God. And in one sense, we could say that the gifts that God has given each of us are essential to the kingdom of God. The second thing I'd like to highlight is the third servant. He thinks of his master and he has the talents, and it is fear that motivates him. And so he buries them. My brothers and sisters, I believe that fear is the greatest thing impeding us from doing God's will and from living the full life that God desires for us. We have no reason to fear our God, especially if we take who we are, the gifts that we have been given, and we genuinely, with our full heart, give these gifts back to God and try our best to follow God's will, using the gifts and talents that we have been given for the sake of the kingdom of God. We have nothing to fear, for God will look upon us with that loving gaze, and he will say to each of us, "Well done, my good and faithful servants."